The bridge above Terminal 3 trembled under Claire Hayes's heels as she crossed it, a narrow strip of glass over concrete and engines. Below, the runways at O'Hare ran straight and gray into the winter haze. A Skyline Airjet rolled past the blue tail with her company logo cutting the pale sky. Her phone sat warm in her hand. A voice from Revenue was listing numbers all clean and upward. "Send me the full deck," Claire said. "I will go through it on the flight." She ended the call and slid the phone into her coat pocket. The rail was cold under her fingers. The air smelled like coffee and grease and something sweet from the pretzel stand. Ms. Hayes. Theo Park came into view at the far end of the bridge, tablet hugged to his chest. "The jet is fueled. Crew is on board. Members are already seated," he said. "If we leave now, you will only be 10 minutes late to your meeting." "Only," she said, which given the New York folks are dialing in is generous. Her eyes had already drifted to the open space of the terminal below. That was where she saw him. A man knelt beside a little girl on the polished tile, the two of them anchored in the middle of a river of rolling suitcases and winter coats. He wore a faded flannel shirt and jeans. A backpack slumped at his feet. The girl looked about 7, dark hair and a ponytail that listed to one side. Her sneakers were too big, bright purple laces trailing on the floor. She stood still while the man retied them, his fingers moving with the easy care of someone who had done this many times. "Daddy," she whispered. Her voice carried just enough to reach Claire. "Are there going to be a lot of people on the plane?" The word people caught. The man finished the bow, gave it a quick tug, then pulled the girl forward until her forehead rested against his chest. His arms came around her, turning his body into a shield between her and the crowd. "I have you," he said quietly. "That is what you need to think about." Something in the steadiness of his voice pressed against a place in Claire's chest she tried not to look at. For a second, the sounds of the terminal thinned, replaced by the rush of rain on glass and a far-off siren. "Ms. Hayes." Theo's tone sharpened. "We should move. Your slot is in 20 minutes. She did not answer. Her hand stayed on the rail, her gaze fixed on the pair below. Above the gate area, the departure board flickered. Letters snapped back into place. A line shifted from green to red. "Flight 482 Chicago, Boston canceled." The man stood resting one hand on the girl's back. He led her toward a gate where a small crowd was starting to gather, shoulders hunched, phones raised. Claire drew in a breath and felt the familiar weight of habit. The private security lane waited to her right. Down below, the man reached the counter and slid 2 boarding passes across. The agent glanced at the screen. "I am sorry, sir," the agent said. "That flight has been canceled. Weather in Boston is backing everything up. We can look at other options, but it may take some time." The girl's fingers tightened on the strap of her backpack. Her breathing went shallow and quick. The terminal noise seemed to swell around her, all voices and wheels and chimes rising at once. "What does some time mean?" the man asked. "We are waiting on updated routing. If you join the customer service line, they can rebook you as soon as anything opens." Claire followed the motion of the agent's hand. The customer service line already curled back on itself, dozens of people restless and resigned. "Daddy," the girl said, barely audible, "my chest feels weird." The man looked down at her. He crouched so their eyes were level. "Can you look at me?" he asked. She did. Her eyes were a soft, stormy gray. "We will figure it out," he said. "Not all at once, just the next thing." "Okay." She nodded, but her shoulders stayed tight. He turned back to the agent. "Thank you. We will get in line." He did not raise his voice or ask for special treatment. He just took the girl's hand and walked her to the end of the line, settling behind a man in a suit who was already complaining into his phone. Claire's phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it and moved along the glass until she stood almost directly above them. From here, she could see the way his hand rested between the girl's shoulder blades, a steady point in a moving world. The girl had taken out a small notebook. The cover bent back and was running her thumb along the spiral binding over and over. Theo came to stand beside her, following her line of sight. "The jet," he said quietly. "They will start asking questions if we do not show." "In a minute," she said. "You do not have a minute." The glass under her feet brought back another surface slick with rain and oil headlights smeared into blurred streaks. For a breath, she felt that strange weightless instant from years ago when everything had gone out from under her at once. Then the feeling was gone, leaving only the humming terminal and the 2 figures in the line below. As if sensing her gaze, the girl looked up. Their eyes met across the open space. The girl did not smile or duck away. She just watched Claire with a clear, direct focus that made Claire feel suddenly exposed. She tugged on the man's sleeve and said something. He turned, following her look. Now his eyes met Claire's. They were the same gray as the girl's, edged with tiredness. He blinked, then gave a small nod. "You look like you are trying to find an exit," he called, his voice easy, carrying without effort. "Are you lost too, ma'am?" The question dropped into the air and stayed there. Theo shifted, already opening his mouth to say they were fine. Claire spoke first. "No," she said. The word came out thin. "I am fine." The man studied her for a second, as if he could tell the answer did not quite fit, then nodded again. "All right," he said, "just checking." He turned away, folding his attention back around his daughter, and the long line inching forward. The word he had used lingered in Claire's head louder than the announcements. "Ms. Hayes," Theo said softer now. "We really do have to go." She dragged her eyes from the purple shoelaces and the bent notebook and looked at the path in front of her, the familiar route toward security, toward her jet, toward the life she had built in the air. "Let us go," she said. She started toward the escalator, heels clicking on the glass. Even as she walked away, she could feel the question sitting somewhere behind her ribs, steady and unwanted, asking itself again. "Are you lost too?" At the top of the escalator, Claire stopped. The moving steps hummed in front of her, carrying other travelers down into the private security lane. She could see her reflection in the glass, the neat dark suit, the hair pinned back, the face people listen to in boardrooms. None of that made it easier to breathe. Behind her, Theo almost ran into her shoulder. "What now?" he asked. "Please do not say you are thinking of buying the airport." She turned her head, looking back across the open span toward Gate 19. The man in the flannel and the girl with the purple laces were still in line, though they had only moved a few feet. "I will catch up," she said. Theo frowned. "We have to clear security together. You know that. Use the private lane. I will be 5 minutes. You cannot just wander around the concourse. You have a jet waiting." "I am aware." She stepped off to the side before he could argue more. "Claire," he said, dropping the title, which he only did when he was actually worried. "What are you doing?" "Something," she said. "Go, please." He hesitated, then sighed, and headed toward the security entrance, muttering under his breath. The automatic doors slid shut behind him. Claire took the stairs down, her hand grazing the rail. The noise of the terminal swelled as she descended, rising from a distant murmur to a full-body sound. Coffee grinders, rolling bags, a crying toddler somewhere to the right. The lights felt a little too bright. By the time she reached the main level, the line at customer service had grown longer. She slipped along its side, keeping a careful distance from stray backpacks and luggage handles, and stopped a few steps from the man and his daughter. Up close, the girl looked smaller. The strap of her backpack cut into one thin shoulder. Her fingers tapped against the cardboard cover of her notebook, a fast, restless rhythm. "Excuse me," Claire said. The man looked up. His eyes flicked over her blazer, the leather bag, the airport badge at her hip. "Yes, ma'am," he said. "You are on the Boston flight, 482. It came out as a statement, not a question. He glanced at the boarding passes in his hand as if to confirm what she already knew. "We were," he said. "Apparently not anymore." "I heard the agent," Claire said. "They are working on reroutes, but that line will take a while." "We know," he said. His voice stayed calm, but his jaw tightened just enough to show the strain. "We will get through it." The girl slid a little closer to his side as if to be sure. "I am Claire," she said. She almost added her last name, then did not. "I work with Skyline." His eyebrows rose. "With the airline?" "Yes." "Right," he said slowly. "Well, then I should probably say your folks at the gate were polite about ruining our day." There was no real bite in the words, just tired humor. "What brings you to Boston?" she asked. It was a simple question, but he seemed to weigh it anyway, as if deciding how much to share with a stranger in an expensive coat. "My daughter has an appointment tomorrow morning," he said. "At the Children's Hospital. Neurology." The girl's hand stilled on the notebook at that word. He went on, "We have been waiting 6 months for this slot, so missing it is not ideal." "I see," Claire said. Her throat felt tight. "What time is the appointment?" 8, he said, which according to the last agent is very unfortunate for us. Claire took out her phone. Her thumb woke the screen in one practiced motion. A few taps brought up the Skyline Operations app, the one not available to regular customers. Rows of flight numbers and status bars lit up. She scanned the list from Chicago to Boston. One flight, her company still showed green. "There is a 6:30, she said. "Skyline Air. We own that route. I can put you on it." He blinked. "You mean rebook us on it?" "I mean make sure you have seats," she said. "In the front cabin. No fee." His eyes sharpened. "We cannot afford that. It would be complimentary." He did not smile. The words seemed to make him wary, not relieved. "And why would you do that?" he asked. "For us." She kept her gaze on the screen a moment longer than necessary. Rows of names, tiny flags showing status numbers she could control. "Because it is the right thing to do," she said. "Because you need to be there, and because I can." The girl watched, her gray eyes intent. Claire had the odd feeling of being measured the way she usually felt in front of a full board, not a child. The man shook his head a little. "I appreciate it," he said. "Really, but you do not have to do that." "I know," she said. "I want to." He hesitated. The line inched forward. Someone up ahead complained loudly about missed connections. "Mr. Reed," Claire said, reading his name from the corner of his boarding pass. "You said you have been waiting 6 months. Let me fix this one thing." He noticed the way she said his name. "You looked us up," he said. "It is on your ticket." "Still," he said. His voice stayed even, but there was a thread of caution in it now. "Look, Ms. Claire, who works with Skyline, we will stand in the same line as everyone else. We will take whatever they can do for us. You do not owe us anything." That last sentence hit harder than it should have. "Sometimes help does not come with a bill," she said. "Sometimes it does," he answered. His gaze slid to her shoes up to her face as if weighing the type of help she was used to giving. "And sometimes it comes with strings you do not see at first." She opened her mouth, closed it again. "I am not asking for anything," she said. "I know," he said. "But no thank you, we will manage." The girl tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy," she whispered. The line moved. He nodded, shifted forward with the others, and the space between them widened by half a step. Claire stayed where she was, the phone heavy in her hand, the open app still showing the 2 empty seats on the 6:30. "Thank you, though," he added, glancing back briefly, "for trying." Then his attention folded back around the girl, and the line, and the small, practical work of staying upright in a crowded place. Claire turned away. Her heart thudded in an uneven rhythm as she walked. It was not anger. She knew what anger felt like. This was something stranger. Being refused help was new. She was used to people leaning toward her, not away. She reached the end of the concourse and stepped through the frosted glass doors into the quieter hallway that led to private security. The air changed there. The public sounds dulled, replaced by a softer hum of climate control and distant footsteps. Theo waited just past the checkpoint, arms crossed, tablet tucked under one elbow. "Well," he said, "was that 5 minutes of philanthropy or 5 minutes of damage control I need to log somewhere?" He said no, Claire said. Theo's eyebrows shot up. "To an upgrade?" "Yes." "To a free seat in first?" "Yes." "He knows who you are, right?" "No," she said, "and it does not matter." Theo studied her face for a second, then seemed to decide this was not the moment to push. They walked toward the security scanners together. Their steps echoed on the polished floor. "Do me a favor, Claire." "Always a comforting sentence," Theo replied. "What do you need?" "The man in the flannel, Boston Flight. I want his full name, his contact information, anything available on his record with us." Theo slowed. "You want me to pull passenger data because he turned down your generosity?" "I want to know who he is," she said. "That sounds slightly like something our legal team would frown at." "We already have his information," she said. "He is on our manifest. I am not asking you to dig through his trash." Theo gave a small, reluctant nod and unlocked his tablet. "Fine. What did his boarding pass say?" he asked. "Reed," she said. "Noah. Traveling with a minor." Theo pulled up the flight records, fingers moving quickly. They reached the security point. The guards recognized Claire, waved them through a side lane with minimal fuss. "He checked in out of Columbus," Theo said as they stepped into a smaller elevator that would take them down to the private apron. "Connecting here to Boston, both legs on us." He swiped again, then frowned slightly. "Not much in our system. He flies maybe once every few years. No status, no miles. Very unexciting." Claire stared at the closed elevator doors. The walls felt a fraction closer than they had a minute ago. "Search outside our system," she said. "Now you are definitely breaking rules," he replied, but his tone held more curiosity than protest. "Lucky for you, I am very good at bending them." The elevator opened into a quiet lounge reserved for corporate use. Soft chairs, a wall of windows looking over the tarmac, coffee machines humming in a corner. Theo dropped into one of the chairs and opened a browser, tapping Noah Reed in the city from his booking into the search bar. "There are a lot of Noah Reeds," he said. "Give me a second." Claire walked to the window. Outside, a ground crew rolled a staircase toward a waiting jet. The air beyond the glass was sharp and cold. A thin sheen of meltwater glazed the concrete, shining under the floodlights. "Here," Theo said. She turned. "Columbus address matches," he said. "Says he used to work for Aurora Dynamics, aerospace safety. Left about 5 years ago. Now he runs some sort of freelance electronics repair out of his apartment." "And his family?" she asked. "Is there anything about that?" Theo scrolled, his forehead creased. "Here," he said again, quieter this time. He turned the tablet so she could see. A small obituary page filled the screen. A black and white photograph of a woman smiling into the camera, hair pulled back eyes bright. Underneath the name, Rachel Ann Reed, beloved wife and mother, died in a car accident outside Albuquerque, New Mexico 5 years earlier. There was a line about her being the kind of person who always stopped to help. The room seemed to tilt a fraction. Claire steadied herself on the back of a chair. Theo looked up at her. "Do you know her?" he asked. Claire could not quite pull her gaze from the picture. The face there was both familiar and strange, not the way she had last seen it rimmed by rain and neon and the blur of trauma, but a clean still frame. She stopped, Claire said. Her voice sounded like it belonged to someone else, on a night when she did not have to. Theo waited, sensing there was more, but she did not give it to him. She straightened. "Book them," she said. He blinked. "Excuse me?" "2 seats on the 6:30 to Boston," she said. "First cabin. Use my personal account. Put a note for the gate agent to move them up without fanfare when they arrive." "You said he turned you down," Theo said. "He did," she said. "He does not have to know these seats come from me. As far as he is concerned, the computer did him a favor. That is not how our computers work." "Sometimes they do," she said. "Today they do." Theo studied her for another second, then nodded and started typing. "Consider it done," he said. Claire turned back to the window. Out on the runway, a plane lifted into the low clouds, its lights swallowed after a moment. Her own jet waited somewhere beyond the glass engines, quiet for now. She watched the empty strip of sky where the plane had disappeared and tried to ignore the feeling that the ground under her feet had just shifted a few centimeters to the left. The car took them straight out onto the apron past a row of commercial jets and service trucks. Claire watched the painted lines on the concrete slide by faint reflections of the floodlights wavering in shallow puddles. Her jet sat a little apart from the others, nose pointed toward the runway engines, quiet cabin lights glowing gold against the gray afternoon. The driver opened her door. Cold air rushed in, carrying the thick smell of fuel and wet pavement. Somewhere a machine beeped in reverse short, sharp notes that set her teeth on edge. "Nice day for it," Theo said behind her. Pulling his coat tighter. For what she asked. "Running a small kingdom from the sky." She did not answer. Her eyes went briefly to the main terminal in the distance. The big departure board was a blur from here, a wall of green and red and white letters. She could not make out the line that mattered. Noah Reed, Boston, 6:30. She followed the flight attendant up the narrow stairs. Inside, the cabin was warm and close. Leather seats, soft lighting, a faint scent of expensive coffee and lemon polish. 4 board members were already settled with tablets and printed reports. They looked up as she entered, faces smoothing into their professional expressions. "Claire," the CFO said, "we were about to start without you. I thought you liked the challenge," she said. Chairs creaked as they shifted. The plane began to move, pushed back from its spot with a gentle lurch. She took her seat and buckled the belt, the click of the metal tongue loud in her ears. From the window she could see other aircraft rolling past, wings glistening. Rain had started again, a fine mist that blurred the lights along the runway. Drops streaked sideways across the glass as they taxied. Someone began talking about yields and load factors. She found the right page, the one with charts for the quarter. The lines climbed at neat angles. Chicago performed better than forecast, the CFO said. Boston, too. The word landed heavily. Boston. She saw not a city, but a waiting room with plastic chairs and a girl in sneakers that looked too big. "Claire," one of the directors said, "you signed off on the new safety protocols for winter operations. Early results look good. Incidents are down." The word incidents pried open something she kept shut. Metal folding around her glass, exploding inward, the taste of copper and burned plastic. A voice in the dark that did not belong to a firefighter or a paramedic, but to a stranger who refused to step away. "Stay with me, eyes on me, do not go." Her fingers slid along the edge of the report until they found the ridge of the thin scar under her ribs. The fabric of her blouse did not stop the small twist of pain. "We can push the safety story harder in our branding," another director said. "Customers like knowing we are the responsible ones." Responsible, the word scratched as it went down. The engines roared. The runway lights began to race past faster. Her body knew the tilt of takeoff too well to be surprised by it. The nose-lifted pressure pushed her back into the seat, and the ground dropped away. Clouds swallowed the window. The world outside became a white blur. Inside, the air remained the same temperature, the same filtered smell, as if nothing had changed. Theo began his section, something about digital booking flows and new customer segments. His voice floated over her without landing. She stared at the blank whiteness beyond the glass. The higher they climbed, the smoother the ride became. The clouds looked soft from this side, an endless field of cotton. She knew better. Inside them was ease and turbulence and the kind of wind that could turn a car on a highway into scrap metal. Her mind slipped sideways to a hospital room that had not seen daylight for days. White walls, white sheets, the beep of a monitor that had become a kind of clock. A nurse telling her she had been under for 6 days. Another voice lower explaining that there had been an accident, that a woman had stopped her own car, that the woman had stayed with her until the fire crews reached them, that the woman had died later at the hospital. They had not known the name at first. Stranger, Good Samaritan. Those were the labels in the early notes. Rachel Ann Reed. That was the name under the photograph on Theo's tablet. The meeting rolled on. Someone asked her a question about a potential code share agreement. She answered on reflex, the right phrases lining up without effort. Years of repetition had turned certain thoughts into muscle memory. She excused herself once they moved into a discussion that did not require her presence. In the small galley, the flight attendant offered her coffee. She shook her head and slipped into the narrow washroom instead. In the mirror, the fluorescent light flattened her features. She looked almost like her press photos minus the retouching. Same sharp jaw, same composed eyes. The only thing that did not match was the way her hand clung to the edge of the sink. She let the faucet run until the steady rush of water gave her something else to listen to. "You do not owe us anything." Noah had said it casually as if stating a fact. He had not known what the sentence did inside her. She turned off the tap and pressed the towel to her face for a moment, breathing in the clean cotton smell. Then she straightened, smoothed her hair, and went back to the cabin. By the time the plane began its descent toward Dallas, the meeting was winding down. Action items had been assigned. Markets had been categorized as promising or not. The future of Skyline Air had been mapped out in boxes and bullet points. Her own future felt less mapped. The jet broke through the clouds into a spread of lights and low buildings. Dallas at dusk. The ground lights looked like a reflection of the sky they had just left scattered and bright. The landing was smooth. A light bump, the whine of reverse thrust the sensation of speed ebbing away. On the drive from the remote apron to the corporate terminal, Theo sat across from her, reviewing her evening schedule on his tablet. "You have a dinner with the investment group at 7, he said. "Tomorrow morning, media prep. Then the alliance calls." He paused. "You look tired," he added, "more than usual." "I am fine," she said. They stepped out into a private arrivals area. Inside, the terminal felt different from Chicago. Warmer colors, softer lighting, less echo. A smaller departure board hung on the wall above the check-in desks, listing only a handful of flights. Her eyes went to it without thinking. Dallas to Boston, Skyline Air, Flight 614, on time. Theo followed her gaze. "You are not on that one," he said, "in case the travel gods have confused you." "Find out if Noah and Mia made the 6:30 out of Chicago," she said. He hesitated, then tapped his screen, checking the connection records. "They boarded," he said after a moment. "Gate upgrade processed, both seated in first. The system notes say operational courtesy." "Good," she said. He watched her for a beat. "They will land in Boston in about an hour and a half," he said. "Kid makes her appointment. You get your dinner. Everybody wins. Can we please go now so I have time to fix your talking points before the bankers meet you?" "Cancel the dinner," she said. Theo blinked. "Come again." "Call them," she said. "Reschedule for next week, or the week after. I do not care when, just not tonight." "You have had this on the calendar for a month and a half," he said. "You moved a European strategy session for this." "Cancel it," she repeated. He stared at her, searching her face for a hint of the joke. "You are serious," he said. "Yes. What do I tell them?" "Tell them something came up. That is not an explanation." She looked back at the board. The line for the Boston flight glowed steady and green. "You can tell them I have to travel," she said. Theo glanced from her to the screen, then back. "Travel where?" he asked. "Boston," she said. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. For once he seemed to run out of words. "Book me on that flight," she said. "Use whatever seat is available." "This evening?" "Yes." "Claire, this is insane," he said. His voice had gone softer, not louder. "You do not know these people." She thought of a woman kneeling on wet asphalt, hands bloody from broken glass, refusing to step away from a burning car. "I know enough," she said. For a long second, Theo held her gaze. Then he exhaled. "All right," he said. "I will see what I can do." He walked toward the nearest desk phone, already rising to his ear. Claire stayed where she was. The board hummed quietly above her. Outside the tall windows, the sky had gone from gray to deep blue. A thin line of cloud hung low over the horizon, the last trace of the front that had moved through. She watched the Boston line on the board, waiting for the small letters beside it to shift from on time to now boarding. By the time morning came, Boston had turned the sky into a low, gray ceiling, and the streets into narrow rivers of dirty water. Claire watched the city slide past through the taxi window, the wipers smearing rain into clear, brief stripes before it gathered again. She had landed after midnight, taken a room near the airport, and slept in a shallow way that did not feel like rest. At 6, she had called Theo. He had already been awake because he always was. "You did not really expect me to sleep after you vanished to Boston," he had said. "You wanted the specifics. Children's Hospital, 9th floor, pediatric neurology. Appointment at 8. You have 2 hours. Is that enough to stalk a stranger and still make your 10 o'clock call?" She had ignored the last part written down the floor and clinic, and let the address sit on her screen like a dare. Now the taxi turned into a wide driveway, tires hissing on wet asphalt. The hospital rose ahead of them, a stack of glass and concrete, with a bright sign that read, "Boston Children's." Colorful animal decals climbed the inside of the front windows, meant to make the building look friendlier than the average hospital. The driver pulled up to the main entrance. "You want the lobby?" he asked. "Yes," she said. Warm air hit her as the sliding doors opened. It smelled like disinfectant and coffee, and something metallic under both a scent she had not forgotten. A volunteer in a blue vest smiled at her from behind a table stacked with visitor stickers and maps. Claire stopped a few steps inside. Parents and grandparents moved through the space with practiced purpose. Some pushed wheelchairs. Some carried sleeping toddlers curled over their shoulders. There were diaper bags, stuffed animals, blankets draped around thin shoulders. Conversations hovered in low tones. The television over the seating area played a cartoon with the sound off. Her suit felt too sharp for the room. Her heels sounded wrong on the tile, too crisp in a place where most people wore sneakers or nothing but hospital socks. She almost turned around. This was too much. Crossing an ocean of terminals and conference rooms to chase a name on an obituary page was one thing. Walking into a children's hospital for a man and a girl who had not asked for her was another. She could get back in the cab. There would be flights out of Boston all day. She could be back in Dallas before dinner, slip into the meetings that had survived last night's cancellations act as if this small detour had never happened. "Can I help you find a clinic?" the volunteer asked. Her voice was gentle, worn smooth by repetition. Claire looked at her. "Yes," she said. "Pediatric neurology. 9th floor," the volunteer said. "Take those elevators Green Bank all the way up, then follow the signs. Do you need a visitor badge?" Claire nodded. The sticker the woman pressed into her hand felt oddly heavy for something so small. She took the elevator up with 3 other people. A boy in Spider-Man pajamas leaned into his mother's side, one hand pressed to his forehead. A man in a work jacket stared straight ahead, jaw tight as if he had left a job half done to be here. When the doors opened on 9, the air seemed to change. The hallway walls were painted in soft colors, greens and blues, broken by murals of oceans and forests. Someone had hung paper stars from the ceiling near the nurses' station. A low hum of machines and voices floated from behind closed doors. Claire followed the signs to pediatric neurology. The waiting area was a mix of plastic chairs for adults and tiny chairs in bright colors for children. A fish tank hummed in one corner. A rack of books leaned slightly to one side. She saw them before they saw her. Noah sat in one of the molded chairs, shoulders rounded, head tipped back against the wall. The flannel shirt from the airport had been swapped for a faded hoodie, but the tired lines around his mouth were the same. Mia had folded herself against his side legs, tucked up sneakers planted on the seat. The purple laces were still braided, a little frayed at the ends. Her notebook rested on her knees. She drew in it with a short pencil tongue caught between her teeth in concentration. Every few seconds her hand would pause, and she would glance toward the closed door that led deeper into the clinic, then go back to her page. Claire stood near the entrance, hovering for a moment on the edge between going forward and walking away. She took a breath and stepped into the room. Mia noticed her first. The girl's pencil stopped mid-line. She lifted her head slowly, as if she wanted to be sure of what she was seeing. Her eyes widened just a little. "Dad," she said quietly. "The plane lady." Noah opened his eyes and followed her gaze. For a second, his expression did not change. Then recognition slid into place. Surprise followed, then something more wary. He sat up straighter. "Ms. Claire, who works with Skyline," he said. "I did not expect to see you here." "Neither did the people who manage my calendar," she said. It came out lighter than she felt. He looked past her, perhaps expecting to see a camera crew or someone in a branded jacket. There was no one, just Claire, still in her suit, her coat unbuttoned. "You are in Boston for business," he said. "Yes. Your business involves pediatric neurology now." "No," she said. "That part is personal. The answer hung between them for a moment. "How did you find us?" he asked. His voice was still calm, but the edge underneath was clearer now. "Did you check our file?" "You told me which hospital," she said. "Neurology. There are not many children's hospitals in Boston." He waited. "And I have a very efficient assistant," she added. "Right," he said. "So, you flew across the country to follow a customer to a doctor's appointment. Is that something Skyline does often?" Mia's gaze bounced between them, quick and alert. Claire felt the weight of it and chose her words more carefully. "I wanted to make sure you made it," she said, "after what happened in Chicago." "We made it," he said. "Your system bumped us up." Mia got hot chocolate in real mugs. The world kept turning. He was watching her, the way he might watch a stranger walking toward him, in a dark parking lot, not outright hostile, but ready to move aside if needed. "You upgraded us, did you not?" he added. "The gate agent said it was an operational courtesy. I have flown enough to know those do not usually land in my lap. And then you happen to appear here. So, forgive me for asking, but what is this?" She swallowed. "I felt responsible," she said. "The cancellation happened on one of our flights. We should have had better backup routes in place. You should not have had to stand in that line with everything you are dealing with. I wanted to fix a mistake." "That sounds like a speech from a training video," he said. "It is still true," she answered. "Maybe," he said, "but people like you do not chase people like me to hospitals because a plane got canceled." He said it quietly. There was no accusation in his tone, but there was a kind of steady certainty. She did not flinch because of the words, but because he was right. Mia shifted, leaning more into his side. He wrapped an arm around her, almost automatically, fingers resting on her shoulder. The gesture was the same one she had seen at the gate, a small circle of safety drawn against the rest of the world. "Is this some sort of focus group?" he asked. "You want to hear my story for a presentation? Find out how a cancellation makes us feel." "No," she said. "Then what?" he asked. "Because we are already giving this day to doctors and waiting rooms. I do not have much left for mystery guests." "I am not here for a survey," she said. Her voice came out softer than she intended. "I am not here to take anything from you." "People rarely think they are taking anything," he said. A nurse behind the desk called another family. A little boy with a worn blue blanket went through the door with his mother, the blanket trailing along the floor. Claire stepped closer, but not close enough to crowd them. The fish tank bubbled at her elbow, bright orange and yellow shapes gliding behind the glass. "I am sorry for showing up like this," she said. "If you want me to go, I will go. I just needed to make sure that if there was anything else I could do, I did it." He studied her for a long second. His eyes searched her face, not in the way of someone looking for a lie, but in the way of someone trying to decide whether what they were seeing matched what they had been told. "You keep talking like you owe us," he said. "You do not. The storm did not ask permission to mess up our flight. The airline did what it could. We got here. That is the end of the story." "It is not the end of it," she said reflexively. "Feels like it from where I am sitting," he said. His gaze dipped to her hands. She had not realized she was gripping the strap of her bag so hard until her fingers began to ache. Mia spoke up, her voice small but clear. "Are you in trouble?" she asked. Claire blinked. "What?" "For the plane," Mia said. "You came here. That is what Dad does when I get in trouble at school. He comes and talks to the teacher." "No," Claire said. "I am not in trouble." "Is Dad in trouble?" Mia asked. "No," Claire said again. "No one is in trouble." Mia considered that, then went back to her drawing. The pencil rasped softly across the page. Noah exhaled a slow, measured breath. "Look," he said. "I am grateful for the seats even if I do not understand them." Mia slept most of the way instead of shaking through turbulence in the back. "That matters. But you being here is not just about a seat. You said it yourself. That part is personal. So, what is it?" The question sat between them like another person. Claire opened her mouth and felt the familiar instinct to redirect to Barry. She had practiced that move for 5 years, in doctors' offices and interviews and quiet evenings alone. The words lined up automatically. "It was a difficult night. There was an accident. Someone helped me. I do my job because safety matters." All of that was technically true. None of it was the thing he was asking. She met his eyes instead. "It is a long story," she said. He looked at the clock on the wall, then at the door that led into the exam rooms. "We have time until they call us," he said, "or you can wait. Either way, I think you came all this way to tell me something. So, either say it or sit down and be here when we come back out." The nurse at the desk glanced up. "Read," she called. "Mia, read." Mia's pencil stopped. She closed her notebook carefully and hugged it to her chest. "That is us," Noah said. "Insard." He stood, helping Mia down from the chair. Her hand slipped into his without looking. She lifted her eyes to Claire for a second. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi," Claire said. Noah nodded toward the row of empty chairs along the wall. "If you are still here when we are done," he said, "we can try the long story." He did not say it as an invitation so much as a condition. It was up to her whether she could sit under these fluorescent lights with all the other waiting bodies and let the minutes stretch. "All right," she said. He gave a short nod, then followed the nurse through the door. It closed behind them with a soft click. The waiting room settled into its own rhythm again. Pages turned. A cartoon character chased another across the silent television. The fish moved in slow circles. Claire sat down in one of the plastic chairs, the visitor sticker crinkling slightly on her coat. The seat was too small and too hard, but she did not move. A mother nearby rocked a stroller, with one foot eyes half closed. Somewhere behind the wall, a machine beeped steadily. Claire folded her hands in her lap and fixed her eyes on the door with the small square window, the one Noah and Mia had just gone through. She did not look at the clock. She did not check her email. The world of flights and meetings and timed slots stayed outside this room. She waited. The door finally opened. Claire was not sure how long she had been sitting there. Long enough for the cartoon on the television to roll its credits and begin again. Long enough for the coffee in the paper cup by the vending machine to cool and be thrown away by someone else. Long enough for the visitor sticker on her coat to feel like part of the fabric. Noah stepped into the waiting room first. Mia walked at his side, clutching her notebook under one arm. There was a faint red mark around the inside of her elbow where a band had been, and a small cotton ball taped down. They both looked tired, but not broken. That was the thing Claire noticed first. "How did it go?" she asked, rising before she thought about it. Noah's eyes flicked toward her, then to Mia, then back. "Come sit," he said. He chose two chairs a little apart from the others near the fish tank. Claire took one, Noah took the other, and helped Mia climb onto his lap. She folded herself there as if she had been doing it her whole life. "The doctor says the medication is starting to do what it should," Noah said. "We have been working on her anxiety. Panic mostly. This visit was to see if the new dose helps without turning her into a zombie." Mia made a face at that word. "I am not a zombie," she said. "No," Noah said. "Ma-sim-si. You are very much not a zombie." He smoothed a hand over her hair. His fingers lingered at the base of her neck for a second, as if counting the pulse there. "They will keep her on the current dose," he went on, looking back at Claire. "Adjust some of the breathing exercises. Check in again in a few months." His voice was steady. Underneath it, something else vibrated like a low note on a string. "That is good news," Claire said quietly. "Good for us," he said. "Not sure how useful that is to you." Mia shifted, twisting enough to see Claire properly. "Some mornings I cannot get out of bed," she told her matter of fact. "When the school bus is coming and there are lots of kids, my chest gets tight. Sometimes my hands shake. The doctor says my brain gets tricked." Noah winced a little. "You do not have to explain all that right now." "It is okay," Mia said. "You looked worried." Claire swallowed. "Thank you for telling me," she said. "I know that is not easy." Mia shrugged, as if it were simply another piece of information, like the weather. "I draw when I feel it coming," she said. "It helps." She tapped the cover of her notebook with one short finger. Noah brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Why do you not go pick a book from the shelf?" he suggested. "I need to talk to Ms. Claire for a minute." Mia looked between them, then nodded. She slid off his lap, every movement careful. At the book rack, she ran her hand along the spines, without really reading them, then chose a picture book and returned to a chair where she could see them both. She opened it, but did not start reading, eyes flicking up now and then. Noah watched her settle, waited until he was sure her attention was caught, at least part way by the bright drawings. Then he turned back to Claire. "So," he said, "we are still here, you are still here, the long story." He said it without challenge, more like a reminder. Claire pressed her palms together, then separated them again. Her fingers left faint prints of warmth on each other. "5 years ago," she began. "I was driving alone on a stretch of highway outside Albuquerque. Late night, it was raining. The word brought the smell back with it. Wet asphalt, dust turned to mud, hot metal. I was coming from a meeting I had insisted could not be moved," she said. "There were calls lined up for the next morning. I remember watching the wipers, thinking about my inbox, not the road." Her mouth felt dry. She let the silence breathe, filled by the distant beep of a monitor somewhere behind the wall. "A truck in front of me hit standing water," she said. Its back end swung. My car went into the guardrail. The front crumpled. Airbags went off. I do not remember the exact order. Her hands in her lap had begun to curl into fists. She forced them open. Most of what I know I learned from the police report later, she said. But I remember pieces, the smell, the sound, the way the rain felt when it came in through the broken glass, the taste of blood. Noah's eyes stayed on her face. He did not look away, did not fill the space with comments or reassurances. I remember thinking that I could not move my legs, she said, that the whole car had folded around me. There were headlights stopping behind me, horns, someone shouting. Her gaze shifted past him to a point on the wall where the paint had chipped. Then there was a woman, she said. She was outside my window, soaked hair stuck to her face. She broke more glass with something I do not know what. She got the door open enough to reach in. She unbuckled my seatbelt. I was heavy. She told me not to look at the fire. I tried to tell her to leave me, but I could not get the words out. The room around her thinned, replaced for a moment by that night, rain hammering on metal, the flash of emergency lights still too far away. She said, "Stay with me, eyes on me." The sentence came out in a whisper. Saying the words out loud made them feel closer to her skin. "She got me halfway out when something behind us went," Claire said. "The report says the fuel line caught. I remember heat on my back." She pulled again. I heard her groan. Then we were on the pavement. Her fingers had moved without her noticing, pressing against the pale line under her ribs. "I woke up 6 days later in a hospital bed," she said. "There was a nurse telling me my name, where I was, what had happened. A doctor explaining concussions and internal injuries. I asked about the woman. Her eyes dropped. They did not know at first," she said. "She had been brought in without identification. They called her a Good Samaritan in the notes. Later, they got her name from her wallet. She died before I woke up." The words did not get easier, even though she had said them to herself many times. "Rachel Ann Reed," she said. "That was the name on the report." Noah did not move for a breath. His face went very still. Only his eyes changed, narrowing a fraction, then opening wider. "My wife," he said quietly. "Yes," Claire said. He looked as if something had struck him in the chest. His hand found the edge of his chair, gripping it. "She was driving back from Santa Fe," he said, but it sounded like he was talking more to himself than to her. "She took that road to save time. It was raining. They told me there had been an accident, that she had stopped to help someone, that she never made it home." His throat worked around the next words. "You," he said, "you were the one she stopped for." Claire could not make herself look away. "Yes," she said again. Silence settled over them, thicker than the air. For a long moment, Noah did not speak. The lines around his mouth deepened. His jaw clenched, then unclenched. His gaze moved over her as if seeing her for the first time, not as a neatly dressed stranger from an airline, but as the person at the center of the worst night of his life. "So," he said finally, his voice was rough, "you are the reason she did not come home." The sentence was not shouted. It did not need to be. The simple shape of it hurt more than any accusation. Claire's chest tightened. There were a dozen answers she could have given. The truck, the rain, the angle of the guardrail. They were all pieces of the story. None of them changed the fact that a woman had died on wet asphalt while pulling her from a broken car. "I have thought every version of that sentence," she said. "Every night for 5 years." It was not a defense. It was just the truth. Noah's eyes closed for a second. When he opened them again, there was a sheen there. "I spent months," he said, "trying to imagine the person on the other side of that story. I tried to hate her. It was easier than hating the rain." He swallowed. "I pictured someone careless," he went on. "Someone who drove too fast. Someone who did not see my wife standing there on the side of the road, waving her arms. I pictured someone who got to walk away while I had to explain to a child why her mother was gone." He looked over at Mia. She was pretending to read, but her eyes were fixed firmly on the same page, not moving. She had stopped turning pages some time ago. Her grip on the book was white-knuckled. "Mia," he said softly. Her head came up. "Come here for a second," he said. She closed the book and brought it with her, climbing onto his lap again. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. "This is the lady Mom helped," he said. Mia's gaze swung to Claire. "You were in the car," she said. "Yes," Claire said. "You could not get out," Mia said. "Do," Mia said. "No," Claire said. "Your mom pulled me out." Mia studied her face with a seriousness that felt older than 7. "Dad says Mom was brave," she said slowly. "She ran toward the fire when everyone else stayed in their cars." "She was brave," Claire said. Her throat burned. "The bravest person I have ever known." "You did not know her," Mia said. "No," Claire said. "I do now, a little, through you." Mia's brow furrowed. She shifted the notebook, pressing into her chest. "Dad says," she went on, "that Mom saved you because that is what brave people do. They help, even when it is scary." Claire nodded once. She did not trust herself to speak. "Are you brave too?" Mia asked. The question hit harder than the accusation had. For 5 years, she had worn a mask that other people called strong. She ran an airline. She signed off on safety budgets. She stood in front of cameras and spoke in a voice that did not shake. She told herself that keeping everything tightly controlled was a kind of courage. Looking at Mia, she could not make that sound true. "No," she said honestly. "I am not brave. I get scared, and then I pretend I am not. I spend a lot of time acting like nothing hurt." Mia thought about this. "Mom was scared sometimes," she said. "She told me. She would squeeze my hand and say, 'I am scared, but I am still here.'" The words slid under Claire's ribs like a hand. "I have been scared," Claire said. "And I have not always been here, not like I should have been." Mia considered that, then opened her notebook and held it out. "I draw when I am scared," she said. "Do you want to see?" Claire reached for the notebook with fingers that did not feel entirely steady. The first page showed 3 figures holding hands: a man, a woman, a small girl. The bodies were simple shapes, but the faces were careful with tiny lines for smiles. Above the woman's head was a circle of light. Underneath, in uneven letters, someone had written, "Mom is our sky." Claire's vision blurred. She blinked hard, but the lines would not sharpen. "It is beautiful," she managed. Mia nodded. "Dad says Mom is up where the planes go. She watches us." "Does he?" Claire said. "Yes," Mia said. "I think she is watching you too, because you are here." That last word settled over Claire like the weight of a blanket. Her eyes burned. She felt the first tear escape, then another. For years, the only wetness on her cheeks had come from rain or the steam in airplane cabins. Now the tears were hot and unhidden. She covered her mouth with the back of her hand for a moment more, to keep in the sound than to hide. "I am sorry," she said, the words muffled. "I am so sorry." Mia looked startled for a second, then leaned forward and put a small hand on Claire's knee. "Dad says, if you miss someone," she said, "you have to remember the happy things, or they turn into only sad things." Claire let out a breath that almost became a laugh. "That sounds like something a very wise person would say," she said. "Dad is wise sometimes," Mia said. "Not always." Noah huffed a quiet sound that might have been a laugh. Claire lowered her hand. Her cheeks were wet. She did not wipe them right away. She had cried in this kind of room once before years ago, when the doctors had first told her what had happened. Those tears had been for herself, for the pain and the fear and the way her life had cracked. These felt different. They were not only for her. When she finally looked up, Noah was watching her. The anger that had flickered across his face earlier was still there in traces, like an old bruise, but something else had moved in beside it. Understanding, or something close to it. He shifted Mia slightly so he could lean forward. "I am sorry," he said. The words surprised her enough that she actually looked over her shoulder to see if he was speaking to someone else. "You have nothing to be sorry for," she said. "I do," he said. "I have been carrying a picture in my head of the person who walked away from that night. I made her into a monster so I could be angry at something solid. I did not think about how it might feel to wake up owing a life you did not ask for." His gaze held hers. "You have been carrying that alone," he said. "Same as we have been carrying our part." Her hand tightened around the notebook. The fish tank hummed. A child somewhere down the hall laughed at something, a bright sound in the air. They sat like that, 3 people pulled together by someone who was not there, in a room painted with careful colors. For the first time in 5 years, Claire did not feel like the only one in the story. A nurse passed by with a stack of Chart's shoes, whispering on the floor. Somewhere behind the wall, a baby cried once and then quieted. The hospital seemed to exhale with them. Mia shifted on Noah's lap. The tape at her elbow had started to peel at one corner. "Can I take this off now?" she asked. "Leave it a little longer," Noah said. "Let it do its job." She made a small sound of protest but did not argue. Her thumb traced the edge of the tape instead. Claire handed the notebook back to her. "Thank you for letting me see," she said. Mia took it with both hands and hugged it to her chest for a second before opening it again. She flipped to a fresh page, the pencil resting in the crease. Noah watched her movements with the quiet focus of someone who had learned to read 100 small signs. "They want her to keep practicing the grounding exercises," he said, still looking at Mia. "Naming things in the room, counting breaths, that sort of thing." He glanced back at Claire. "She gets stuck in her head sometimes," he said. "It helps to have something to pull her out." "Drawing does that," Claire said. "Drawing does that," he agreed. Mia looked up. "There are 5 fish in the tank," she announced. 2 orange, 3 yellow, and your shoes are too shiny." Claire glanced at her shoes, then at Mia's face. There was the ghost of a smile there. "Too shiny," Claire repeated. "I will see what I can do about that." "You do not have to," Mia said. "They look like they are good at not getting wet." Noah's mouth twitched. A nurse called another name. The waiting room shuffled around them. You said you woke up 6 days later, Noah said quietly. Did you remember right away? No, Claire said. They told me what had happened, but my memory stopped around an exit sign on the highway. I had a gap where the crash should have been. It took weeks for pieces to come back. She brushed her thumb over the corner of the visitor sticker, feeling the paper grind faintly under her nail. I would get flashes, she said. The smell of smoke, the feeling of glass under my hand, her voice. For a long time, it did not have a face. And when it did, he asked. I got the report, she said. I read the name. Rachel Reed. Married. 1 child. There was a number for next of kin. By the time I called, it was disconnected. He frowned. We moved not long after, to Ohio. I changed my phone. It felt wrong to keep the same number. I hired someone, she said, to try to find you, a private investigator. It did not go far. There were too many Reeds, not enough money trails. You did not touch our airline again. You did not file any claims. We had insurance, he said, through her work. The rest I covered by selling the car. He looked down at Mia's head. And by not flying, he added. Claire nodded once. I wrote letters, she said, every year on the date of the crash. I wrote to the family of the woman who pulled me out of my car. I did not know where to send them, so I kept them. Noah considered that. You could have gone on with your life, he said. You could have thanked the doctors and the firefighters and let her be a line in a report. I tried, she said, for about 3 weeks. And then you went back to running an airline, he said. Yes, she said, but everything looked different. The words came slowly, shaped by something that had been sitting under other conversations for years. I used to look at numbers, she said. Fuel per mile, seats per route. After the accident, every chart had a shadow. Every safety line had her face behind it. I put money into training, into equipment. I pushed for protocols that made people roll their eyes. Corporate guilt, he said. The words were mild, but his eyes were not. Personal guilt, she said. Corporate budgets. He snorted softly at that. Across the room, a little girl with a pink headband dropped her stuffed bear. Mia slid off Noah's lap, retrieved it, and handed it back with a shy smile. The girl's mother mouthed a thank you. Mia returned to her seat a little straighter than before. You know, Noah said, watching his daughter, when they first told me what Rachel had done, I was angry. He looked at Claire. I was angry at her, he said, for stopping, for getting hurt, for leaving me with a baby and a mortgage and a pile of casseroles from neighbors who did not know what to say. Mia had turned the page again. Her pencil moved in short strokes, now quick and sure. Then I saw the crash photos, he said, at the inquest. I saw what your car looked like, the angle, the fire marks. And I knew she would have stopped for anyone. It did not matter who was in that seat. His gaze did not waver. I thought if I could see the person, he said, I could decide if it was worth it. Claire held his look. And what do you think now, she asked. He let out a slow breath. I think worth is the wrong word, he said. Rachel did not do math. She saw a person who needed to come home to someone, and she made a choice she would have made for any stranger. His attention softened, the way it had when he looked at Mia. I think she would be very annoyed if I spent my life weighing her life against yours, he said. She would tell me to knock it off and pack Mia's lunch. Claire's throat tightened again. I have tried to live in a way that did not make her choice feel wasted, she said. I do not know if I have done a good job. Noah tilted his head. You are standing in a children's hospital when you could be in a room with people who wear watches that cost more than my car, he said. That counts for something. She gave a short, surprised laugh. That is a very specific comparison, she said. I used to work with those people, he said. Different industry, same watches. Mia looked up from her drawing. Dad used to design things for planes, she told Claire. Computer stuff. He stopped. Why did you stop? Claire asked. He shrugged one shoulder. Something about sitting behind a screen and minimizing risk for theoretical lives did not sit well once I had an actual child and a wife who died at the side of a highway, he said. I wanted to fix things I could touch. Like phones, Mia said. Like phones, he agreed. And microwaves, she added. Yes, he said. And microwaves. Do you miss it? Claire asked. The engineering, he said. Sometimes. The rest of it not really. He glanced at Mia. I like being able to close the laptop when she needs me, he said. Airplanes are not good at waiting. That at least was something she understood. The nurse at the desk called Reed. She held out a clipboard. Discharge papers, she said. Medication schedule. Follow-up appointment in 3 months. Noah stood, easing Mia off his lap. Thank you, he said, taking the clipboard. He flipped through the pages, eyes scanning the lines with practiced speed, then signed where they indicated. Mia slipped her hand into his. Can we leave now? She asked. It smells like my old dentist. Almost, he said. Let us get you a sticker. They stopped at a small plastic box on the counter. Mia picked out a sticker with a cartoon rocket and pressed it carefully onto the cover of her notebook, right above the words about her mother. "Ready?" Noah asked. Mia nodded. They turned toward the elevators. Claire found herself walking beside them before she had decided to move. In the elevator, a man in scrubs stood with a tray of vials. No one spoke. The doors opened on different floors. People got on and off the small space, breathing in and out. On the ground floor, the lobby spread out again, bright and busy. A coffee cart hissed steam near the entrance. The doors slid open and closed as people came and went, letting in brief gusts of cold, damp air. They walked together toward the exit. Outside, the rain had softened to a mist that hung in the air, more felt than seen. The parking lot shone in patches of reflected light. Across the street, a small diner squatted under a flickering sign. Windows fogged from the inside. A few cars were scattered in the lot. Noah followed her gaze. "That place has decent coffee," he said, "and grilled cheese that Mia approves of. We were going to stop there before heading back to the airport." Mia perked up at the words grilled cheese. "With 3 cheeses," she said. "With 3 cheeses," Noah confirmed. Claire looked at the diner, at the fogged glass and the glow behind it. Then she looked back at them. "May I join you?" she asked. It surprised her how much she meant it. Noah studied her for a beat, rain beating in his hair. "You do not have to," he said. "I know," she said. He nodded slowly. "Then yes," he said. "You can join us." "Oh, you can join us?" Mia smiled, quick and bright, the first unguarded one Claire had seen. "You can sit by the window," Mia said. "That is the best spot." They stepped out into the mist together, crossing the wet asphalt side by side toward the small rectangle of light and the promise of something warm on the other side of the glass. The bell over the diner door let out a tired ring as they stepped inside. Heat wrapped around them, thick with the smell of coffee butter and something fried. The windows along the front were fogged drops of condensation sliding slowly down the glass. A radio behind the counter played low, an old song with a steel guitar that curled through the room like steam. A waitress in a red apron looked up from wiping a table. "Sit anywhere you like," she called. Mia made a beeline for a booth by the window. The vinyl seat let out a small squeak as she climbed in. She scooted all the way to the edge so she could press her hand against the glass and draw a line in the fog. "You were right," Claire said. "Best spot." She slid into the seat across from Mia. Noah took the side next to his daughter. For a moment, they all just sat there, coats still on damp cuffs darkening the vinyl. The waitress appeared beside the table with a pad in hand. "What can I get you?" she asked. "Grilled cheese," Mia said fast. "With 3 cheeses?" "3," the waitress repeated, amused. "That is very specific." "Cheddar mozzarella and parmesan," Mia recited. "Dad taught them." Noah made a helpless motion with his hands. "I came here too many times," he said. They adapted. The waitress nodded. "Kids combo 3 cheeses. Got it. Fries or fruit on the side?" "Fries," Mia said without hesitation. Noah glanced at Claire. "You okay with diner food?" he asked. "I am okay with food," she said. "Grilled cheese sounds good." "Make that 2, he told the waitress. "And coffee. Strong." She wrote it down, then looked at Claire. "Same for you?" she asked. "Coffee, yes. ASC?" "Yes," Claire said. "Black." The waitress left them with laminated menus they did not really need and filled 3 water glasses from a pitcher. Ice clinked softly against the sides. Outside, a bus rolled past, splashing water up against the curb. The droplets hit the window and merged with the condensation. Mia traced the outline of the bus on the fogged glass, then let it disappear. For a few moments, the quiet between them was not uncomfortable. It had a shape like something they were still learning to fit into. "You came here before," Claire said. "After appointments," Noah said. "When we can. It breaks up the day." She gets fries. "I get coffee that is not from a machine." "You get pancakes sometimes," Mia said without looking away from the window. "When it is a big day." He smiled. "Right, big days get pancakes." "Is this a big day?" Claire asked. Mia thought about it. It was medium big, she decided. No needles that hurt a lot, but lots of questions. "That puts it in the middle," Noah said. "Grilled cheese territory." The waitress returned with their coffees. The mugs were thick white ceramic edges chipped in places. The coffee smelled fresh and darker than Claire expected. She wrapped her hands around the mug, letting the heat seep into her fingers. The warmth was steady grounding. Mia watched her over the top of her water glass. "You do not look like a plane person," she said. "A plane person," Claire repeated. "Someone who lives with planes," Mia clarified. "What do I look like?" Claire asked. Mia considered her. "A teacher," she said, "or someone on TV who tells people what to do." Noah coughed to hide a laugh. "That seems accurate," he said. Claire's mouth curved despite herself. "I do spend a lot of time telling people where to go," she admitted. "See," Mia said, satisfied. Claire took a sip of coffee. It was hot, strong, and better than the kind usually poured into paper cups at Gates. Her shoulders loosened a fraction. Noah watched her over his own mug. "So," he said, "you run an airline." "Yes," she said. "How does that happen?" he asked. "Do they just hand you the key to all the planes one day?" "It is less dramatic than that," she said. "Lots of meetings, lots of numbers, a few signatures." "Still sounds dramatic," he said. "It is mostly logistics," she said, "making sure people get where they need to go more or less on time without falling out of the sky." Mia's head snapped up. "Do planes fall out of the sky?" she asked. "Not on my routes," Claire said quickly. "Not on purpose. We spend a lot of energy making sure of that." Mia relaxed again, tracing a circle in the condensation with her fingertip. "You used to work on that," Claire said, turning to Noah. "Safety systems." He shrugged. Before he said, "I worked on failure analysis redundancy, making sure if one part went wrong, others picked up the slack." He tapped his coffee mug. "Useful skill in parenthood," he added. "You are very bad at sleeping," Mia said. "Not what I meant," he replied. He replied. "But true," she said. He lifted one shoulder in acceptance. "Did you like it?" Claire asked. "The work," he said. "Yes. The rest of it not so much." "The rest," she prompted. "Layers of approval," he said. "Arguments about what counted as acceptable risk. People who did not want to pay for the extra bolt." Claire's lips thinned. She knew those meetings. She had sat through versions of them with different charts and different stakes. And now she asked, "Now I fix things that fit on a table," he said. "I see the look on someone's face when their dead laptop lights up again. It is smaller, but I can see the edges. There is something to be said for edges." The waitress slid plates onto the table one by one. The grilled cheese sandwiches gleamed with melted cheese at the seams. The fries steamed crisp at the ends. Mia's eyes lit up. "Thank you," she said with a politeness that sounded practiced but genuine. She picked up a triangular half of sandwich and examined the crust carefully. "They cut it right," she announced. "Very important," Noah said. "There are rules." Claire lifted her own sandwich. The bread was buttery, the crust just crisp enough. When she bit into it, the cheese stretched slightly before breaking. It tasted like childhood, like something simple and sure, in a world that was neither. Mia took a bite, closed her eyes, and chewed with reverence. "Still the best," she said. "Well," Noah said, "we have not tried every grilled cheese in Boston." "We do not need to," Mia replied. Claire watched them banter, a small warmth growing in her chest that had nothing to do with the coffee. "You said you wrote letters," Noah said after a few minutes. "To the family." She set her sandwich down, wiped her fingers on the napkin. "I did," she said. "Do you still have them?" he asked. "I have one of them with me," she said. "The first one. I brought it to Chicago. I do not entirely know why." "That sounds like a thing you should not say out loud," he said. Probably she agreed. She reached down for her bag, which she had placed beside her on the seat. The leather was worn smooth where her hand usually gripped it. From an inner pocket, she pulled out an envelope that had been folded and unfolded enough times to soften the edges. She turned it in her fingers for a moment, looking at the familiar creases, then slid it across the table. "For you," she said. Noah hesitated, then took it. His thumb ran along the fold, then he opened it carefully, as if the paper might tear if he moved too quickly. The first thing inside was a photograph, slightly grainy, printed on regular paper. It showed a night scene on a highway captured from the dash camera of a car, 3 vehicles back. Headlights flared. In the center of the frame there was a jumble of metal that had once been a car. A figure leaned into the open driver's side body, half-turned, braced against the door. The details were blurred by rain and distance, but the posture was unmistakable. Noah's breath caught. "That is her," he said. His thumb traced the faint outline of the woman in the frame, the curve of her arms. "And you," he added quietly in there. "Yes," Claire said. He swallowed and looked away from the photograph long enough to slide out the letter. The first lines were written in a neat, deliberate hand that grew less steady toward the bottom of the page. "To the family of the woman who pulled me out of my car," he read. His eyes moved down the page. Claire stared at his face, not the letter, watching the way his expression changed with each line. "I do not know your names," he read, half under his breath, or where you live, or what you were doing before the phone rang that night. "I only know that someone you love stepped into the rain for a stranger." He read silently for a while, brows drawn together. The diner sounds faded around them. Plates clattered at other tables. A baby somewhere fussed. The radio song changed, but the small circle at their booth stayed still. Mia leaned forward, trying to see. "Can I read?" she asked. Is it bon or it Later, he said gently. "I will read it to you at home." She accepted that and went back to her fries. He reached the bottom of the page. The last paragraph had been rewritten several times. Faint indentations from earlier tries showed when the light hit at an angle. I am trying. He read to use the time she bought me in a way that would make her proud if she knew. I am trying to be brave enough to deserve what she did. I know I will fail at that, but I want you to know that I am aware this life is borrowed. He let out a long breath after the last word and folded the page along its old crease. For a moment, he just held at the paper small in his hands. Then he slipped it back into the envelope and set it carefully beside his plate. "Thank you," he said. His voice was low-scraped but steady. "I should be thanking you," Claire said, "for reading it, for what he asked, for letting me see how heavy it has been to carry that by yourself." Her eyes stung again, but no tears fell this time. Mia wiped a smear of cheese from the corner of her mouth with the back of her hand. "Dad says, when you borrow something," she said, "you have to take care of it extra good." Claire smiled a little. "He sounds like he has a lot of rules." "He does," she said, "but they are good rules, mostly." Noah shook his head, but there was fondness in the movement. Mia flipped her notebook open again. "Can I draw you?" she asked Claire. Claire repeated. "Yes," Mia said, "with Mom, so she knows what you look like." Claire's heart stuttered. "If you want to," she said. Mia moved her plate aside to make room and started to sketch. Her pencil scratched over the paper lines, forming faster now that her hand was warm. She asked a few questions as she worked. "Do you like flying?" she asked without looking up. "Sometimes," Claire said. "Sometimes I like landing more." "That makes sense," Mia said. "Favorite color?" Mia asked. "Blue," Claire said. "The dark kind, like the sky before it goes black." Mia nodded as if filing it away. "Do you have family?" she asked. The question landed softly, but dug deep. "Not close," Claire said. "Not in the way you mean." Mia paused at that, peeking up at her through her lashes, then went back to the page. Noah watched his hand resting lightly on Mia's back. "Her drawings help," he said quietly. "On nights when it is bad, she will draw until she can sleep." "What do you do?" Claire asked. "When it is bad," he clarified. "Yes." He considered. "Sometimes I fix things," he said. "Phones, toasters, old radios. Sometimes it helps to take something broken and make it work again." He looked at her. "Sometimes I just sit there," he said, "and let it hurt." There was no self-pity in the confession, just a fact. Claire thought of all the times she had filled bad nights with work flights, meetings anything but stillness. The idea of sitting and letting the pain be what it was felt foreign. Mia finally pushed the notebook into the center of the table. "Done," she said. Claire leaned closer. The drawing showed 3 figures again, but the arrangement had changed. On the ground, a man and a woman stood on either side of a small girl, all 3 holding hands. The woman had short hair and a jacket that looked suspiciously like a blazer. Above them in the corner of the page, a figure with a circle of light over her head watched from a cluster of clouds. Underneath, in blocky letters, Mia had written, "Us with Mom watching." Claire swallowed. "That is us," Mia said, "and that is Mom. She is up where the planes go. She can see this whole table. She would like this drawing," Noah said, his voice thickening just a little. "You can have it," Mia told Claire, "if you want." Claire touched the edge of the paper, careful not to smudge the pencil. "I want," she said. She folded the page along a clean line, gentle as if it were fragile, and slid it into her bag beside the envelope with the letter. The 2 pieces of paper sat against each other, the old words and the new lines sharing the same space. For the first time since she had woken in that hospital bed 5 years ago, the story on the page in her bag did not feel like a one-sided confession. Outside, the rain had thinned to a fine drizzle. Laughter rose for a moment from a table near the door, then faded. The radio played another song, this one lighter with a bright piano line. At the booth by the window, 3 people ate grilled cheese and watched the streaks of water slide down the glass. The world beyond the fogged pane slightly blurred, but still there. They paid at the counter. Noah reached for his wallet first. Claire let him. Mia thanked the waitress with the seriousness of someone signing a contract, then hugged her notebook to her chest as they stepped back into the mist. The rain was so fine it felt like a cold breath on Claire's cheeks. Parking lot lights turned puddles into dull mirrors. Noah kept Mia close, guiding her around slick paint lines. Claire's rental sat at the far end, a dark sedan with a clean, almost chemical smell inside. The locks clicked. The cabin light blinked on. "You do not have to drive us," Noah said at the passenger door. "I know," Claire said. "I want to." Mia climbed into the back seat and buckled herself with careful hands. The strap twisted once. Noah leaned back to fix it quick and practiced. "You are good at that," Mia said. "I have had a lot of practice," he replied. Claire started the engine. Warm air pushed from the vents, smelling faintly of dust warming up. The wipers began their steady sweep, clearing a narrow view before the rain gathered again. They rolled away from the diner and into slow traffic. Brake lights smeared across wet pavement. Boston looked muted in the rain, brick-darkened sidewalks, shining umbrellas drifting past like small dark shapes. Mia leaned her forehead to the window. Her finger traced a slow circle in the fog that formed on the glass. After a few blocks, Noah spoke. Rachel used to call this storm blue, he said, nodding toward the sky. That color right before everything turns black. Claire's hands tightened on the wheel, then loosened. I said something like that, she murmured. Maya asked you, he said. Favorite color? Claire let out a small breath. Yes, that. She liked storms, he added. She said they made the world honest. Claire kept her eyes on the road. The rain ticked against the windshield, quiet, but constant. The first time I heard rain on glass after the crash, Claire said I pulled over. I sat on the shoulder with my hazard lights on, and I could not make myself move. Noah did not interrupt. His silence felt like space, not judgment. I started flying more after that, she said. People thought it meant I was fearless. It meant I was trying to get above the weather as fast as possible, up where the clouds look soft. And did it help, he asked. For a while, she said, until landing. He glanced at her, something in his expression softening. Landing is hard. In the back, Mia yawned wide enough to make her eyes water. Are we almost there? She asked, voice thick with sleep. Close, Noah said. Mia nodded, as if that word was a blanket. Her head tipped toward the window again. Claire turned onto a wider road toward the airport hotels. Planes passed low overhead lights, blinking through the drizzle. Mia followed the sound with her eyes. Mom is higher than that, she whispered. Claire's fingers brushed the edge of her ribcage where the scar still ached on wet days. She did it without thinking, the way some people touched a ring or a pocket for comfort. In the rearview mirror, she caught a glimpse of Mia's purple laces, a small bright knot against the dark seat. Noah's jaw worked once. He rested his hand on the seat back close to her hair without touching. A few miles later, he spoke again, quieter. You try hard to be perfect, he said. Claire exhaled through her nose. Is it that obvious? A little, he said. You talk like every sentence might be recorded. That is just how I work, she said. Noah looked out the windshield. Is it also how you live? The question did not have sharp edges, but it went deep. Claire watched the lane lines slide under the headlights. I learned early that if I did everything right, no one could yell. If I stayed useful, people stayed. Noah nodded once, slow. Rachel would have told you to stop holding your breath, he said. She had a way of saying things that sounded like a joke until you realized it was true. Claire swallowed. Do you think she would have hated me? He shook his head. No. She would have looked at you and asked what you were afraid of. Then she would have made you sit down and eat something. A faint laugh escaped Claire, surprised by its own sound. In the back seat, Mia's breathing had slowed. Her notebook lay open on her lap, pencil caught in the spiral. Her head tipped forward, then rested against the seat. She made a small snuffling sound and went still. She crashes like that after a big day, Noah said softly. She did great, Claire whispered. She always does, he said, even when it costs her. The hotel appeared near the airport, a block of beige and glass with bright lobby lights. Cars idled under the covered entrance. The awning muted the rain into a steady drum as Claire pulled in and stopped. Noah unbuckled and reached back. Mia, he murmured, we are here. She did not wake. He slid one arm under her knees and the other behind her shoulders, lifting her carefully. Mia curled into him. Without opening her eyes, her cheek pressed to his hoodie. Claire reached back and eased the notebook from Mia's loose grip, then held it out. Noah tucked it under his arm. He paused at the open door, rain beating on his hair, Mia warm against his chest. Thank you, he said. For dinner, Claire offered. For showing up, he corrected. For answering when I asked. For not making it easy. Claire nodded. Words gathered and then failed her. I am sorry, she said, because it was the truest thing she could say without breaking. Noah's gaze held hers for a beat. I know. Claire's throat tightened. Take good care of her. I will, he said. It sounded like a promise he had been making for years. He shifted Mia higher and closed the door gently. Through the windshield, Claire watched him cross the wet pavement and disappear into the bright lobby as the automatic doors slid shut behind them. Claire sat alone under the awning. The wipers kept moving out of habit. She turned them off. The sudden quiet made the rain louder. She did not wipe her cheeks. She did not check her phone. She just watched the blurred reflections of the hotel lights on the hood and listened to the steady drumming overhead until her breathing slowed to match it. 3 weeks later, Dallas woke up under a sky so clear it looked rinsed. Claire arrived early before the lobby filled with the usual stream of rolling suitcases and clipped conversations. The air outside still carried a faint dampness from rain the night before, but the sun had already started to dry the sidewalks. Inside Skyline's headquarters, the scent was polished sonand, fresh coffee, and the faint ozone of too many screens. Her office sat on the top floor glass on two sides. From there, she could see the airport in the distance, tiny planes lifting like beads of light. On her desk, the quarterly numbers waited in neat stacks. A disruption report sat open beside them, full of grids and timestamps. Chicago, weather, missed connections, families rerouted, vouchers issued, names reduced to rows. Claire read the report anyway. Her fingers drifted to the top drawer without thinking. She slid it open and pulled out a single folded page soft at the creases. Mia's drawing, 3 figures holding hands under a set of clouds. A 4th figure above them, a circle of light over her head. Claire did not unfold it all the way. She did not need to. A soft knock sounded at the door. Theo stepped in, hair still damp from his morning commute tablet tucked under his arm. "You are in early," he said. "So are you," Claire replied. He looked at the report. "We had 3 delays out of Chicago again. Wind shift. The operations team wants sign-off on the revised customer care language." Claire slid the drawing back into the drawer and shut it. "Put it on my screen," she said. Theo tapped a few times, then paused. His eyes lifted, measuring her face the way he had learned to do over years of last-minute changes. "You have been quieter," he said. "I am reading," she answered. "That is not what I mean." Claire picked up her coffee and took a sip. It was too hot. She welcomed the sting. Theo held her gaze, then shifted his weight. "There is someone downstairs," he said, "at the front desk, asking for you." "Who?" Claire asked. Theo's mouth did something close to a smile, then stopped. "A man, with a kid. The man looks like he would rather be anywhere else. The kid looks like she owns the building already." Claire's grip tightened around the mug. "You told them you were expecting them," Theo added more carefully than usual. "I did not," Claire said. Theo nodded once. "That is what I told them, politely, twice." Claire stood so fast her chair rolled back an inch. Her coat was still on the hook. She did not put it on. She walked past Theo and out of the office, heels clicking against the hallway floor. Theo followed a step behind, saying nothing. The elevator ride down felt longer than it was. The numbers over the door blinked in slow patience. When they reached the lobby, the sound of the building came up around them. Phones ringing at reception, footsteps. A low murmur near the coffee bar where 2 pilots stood in uniform laughing at something only they understood. Then Claire saw them. Noah stood near the center of the lobby, hands shoved into the pockets of a faded flannel shirt. The fabric looked soft from too many washes. He had trimmed his beard, but the tiredness in his eyes was the same as Boston. He looked like a man who had entered the wrong address and decided to stay only because leaving would be worse. Mia stood beside him, a little closer to the revolving doors than she needed to be, as if she wanted an exit she could see. Her purple laces were tied in tight bows. Her notebook was clutched to her chest. Mia noticed Claire first. Her face brightened, quick and unguarded. "The plane lady," she said. Noah turned. His expression shifted in layers. Surprise, then a flicker of uncertainty, then something steadier. "Ms. Hayes," he said. "Mr. Reed," Claire replied. They stood for a beat with the lobby moving around them. Theo hovered at Claire's shoulder, silent for once. Noah cleared his throat. "We are in town. Mia had a follow-up with a specialist who travels through. It was yesterday. We are flying home this afternoon." Claire nodded. "How is she?" Mia answered before her father could. "Medium good," she said. "No needles." Noah's mouth twitched. That was her review. "That is a good review," Claire said. Mia's gaze slid past Claire to the high ceiling, the hanging lights, the model planes suspended over the reception desk. Her eyes widened. "Are those real?" she asked. "They are models," Claire said, "but they are built from real plane plans." Mia took a careful step forward, staring up at a silver jet with the Skyline logo painted on its tail. "It looks like it is swimming," she said softly. Noah watched her, then looked back at Claire, the same protective focus returning. "I told her we could stop by if you were not busy," she asked. "I said I could ask. If it is a bad time, we can go." It was not what he said that mattered. It was how he said it. Like he was trying not to take up space he had not been offered. Claire glanced at Theo. Theo lifted his eyebrows as if to say, "This one is on you." Claire looked back at Noah. "It is not a bad time," she said. Noah's shoulders loosened by a fraction. "All right." Mia turned her face up toward Claire. "Do you work up there?" she asked, pointing vaguely toward the upper floors. "Yes," Claire said. "Is it scary?" Mia asked. "Sometimes," Claire said, "but the windows are thick." Mia considered that. "Okay." Noah let out a slow breath. "She wanted to see where you work. She thinks you tell the planes what to do." Claire crouched until she was closer to Mia's height. "I do not tell the planes," she said. "I tell people, Planes mostly ignore me. Mia smiled, then looked down at her notebook, fingers tightening around it. You said we could stay in touch, Noah said, voice low enough that Mia could not hear. We did not really stay in touch. Not well. I did not know what to say that would not sound wrong. Claire felt the old tightness flare and then ease. You are here, she said. That is something to say. Noah nodded once. Mia wanted to show you something too. Mia's head snapped up. Dad, she protested, cheeks coloring. Noah looked mildly apologetic. You said you wanted to. Mia stared at the floor for a second, then hugged the notebook tighter. Not here, she muttered. Claire stood. We can go upstairs, she said. My office is quiet. There is a couch, and the elevator is fast. Mia's eyes darted to the elevator bank, then back to the revolving door, then back to Claire. Okay, she said finally. If Dad comes. I will, Noah said. Claire turned to the reception desk. A security guard stepped forward, waiting for instruction. They are with me, Claire said. The guard nodded and waved them through the barrier. Theo moved ahead to badge them into the private elevator, his tablet already out. As they crossed the lobby, Mia walked close to Claire's side, her shoulder almost brushing Claire's coat. Noah stayed on Mia's other side, his hand hovering near her back, ready to steady her if the crowd shifted. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Mia stepped inside and tipped her head back to look at the lights in the ceiling. It smells like clean, she said. Theo pressed the button for the top floor. The doors closed, sealing out the lobby noise. Claire watched the numbers climb while Noah stood beside his daughter, and Mia held her notebook like a secret she was deciding whether to share. The elevator stopped with a soft sigh. When the doors opened, the air changed. Quieter, cooler, carpet instead of tile. The hum of the building dropped into a distant, steady pulse. Claire led them down a hallway lined with framed photos of skyline planes and route maps. Mia walked slowly, eyes tracking the pictures, as if they might move. Noah stayed close, his hand hovering near Mia's back without touching. Theo peeled off toward the assistant desks, giving Claire a look that said he would keep the floor clear. Claire unlocked her office and held the door. Inside, the space was all glass and clean lines. A long table, a wall of windows, a couch that rarely got used. Sunlight poured in and made pale rectangles on the floor. Mia stepped in first. She went straight to the window and pressed her palm to it. I can see the airport, she said. Far off, a plane lifted into the blue, small as a toy, its belly catching the light. Noah stood by the door as if he still was not sure he belonged here. Claire noticed the way his shoulders remained slightly tense, like he expected someone to tell him he had walked into the wrong room. You are allowed to breathe, Claire said gently. Noah huffed a quiet laugh. Habit. Mia turned from the window and looked at the couch. Can I sit? She asked. Yes, Claire said. Mia climbed onto it and tucked her feet under her notebook, still clutched to her chest. She stared at the cover for a long moment, thumb rubbing the rocket sticker from the hospital. Claire sat in the chair opposite the couch, not behind her desk. She wanted the desk out of the way, its neat stacks and screens and authority. Noah took the edge of the couch near Mia, close enough to steady her if she needed it. Mia cleared her throat. I drew something, she said. Noah glanced at Claire. She has been working on it since Boston. Mia shot him a look. Dad. Sorry, he said, holding up a hand. You tell it. Mia opened the notebook and flipped carefully through pages. There were sketches of planes, clouds, a diner booth, a fish tank, a stormy sky with a single bright line cutting through it. She stopped near the back. Okay, she said, and held it out toward Claire. Claire took it with both hands. The drawing filled the page, 4 figures this time. A man, a little girl, and a woman with short hair standing together on the ground, all holding hands. Above them, in a broad sweep of cloud, a 4th figure watched from the sky, a circle of light over her head. In Mia's block letters at the bottom, it read, Our new flight plan. Claire's throat tightened so fast it felt like a physical thing. Mia watched her face as if tracking every small shift. Mom is still there, Mia said, pointing to the figure in the cloud. That part does not change. But Dad says people can have more than one kind of family. Dad says Mom would want us to be happy. And you make Dad smile. Noah's ears went red. Mia! It is true, Mia said, stubbornly gentle. He smiles more. Claire looked up from the page to Noah. His eyes were on Mia, not on Claire, like he was trying to decide whether to correct her or protect the moment. I do not want to take her place, Claire said quietly, the words meant for both of them. Noah's gaze shifted to Claire at last. You are not taking anything he said. Rachel is not a chair someone can fill. She is a person we carry. Mia is trying to make sense of how the carrying works. Mia nodded as if that was exactly the point. Claire set the notebook carefully on her lap and breathed in slow. The air in her office smelled faintly of paper and coffee and sunlight on glass. "Thank you," Claire said to Mia, "for letting me be in your drawing." Mia's shoulders dropped a little, as if she had been holding them up for that answer. Claire handed the notebook back, then stood. She moved closer, lowered herself to the couch level, and opened her arms just a little, not assuming. Mia leaned into her without hesitation. The hug was fierce small arms tight around Claire's shoulders. Claire closed her eyes for a second and let herself stay there, feeling the weight of a child who had learned too early how to be brave. When Mia pulled back, Noah was watching with an expression Claire could not name at first. Then she recognized it. Tiredness, yes. Wariness still. But also something like relief. The kind that comes when a door you have kept closed finally stops rattling. Claire stood again, and as she did, the lace on her right shoe slipped loose. She did not notice until she took a step, and the end of the lace brushed her ankle. Mia noticed immediately. "Your shoe is doing that thing," she said. Claire looked down. "It is." Mia slid off the couch. "Hold still." Before Claire could protest, Mia knelt on the carpet and gathered the loose lace ends. Her small fingers moved quickly, practiced in a way that made Claire's chest ache. She formed the loops, pulled them through, tightened the knot with a firm tug. "There," Mia said. Claire stared down at the neat bow. For a moment she saw the airport tile again. A man kneeling, purple laces in his hands. A child asking if there would be a lot of people. Claire swallowed. "Thank you," she said, her voice low. Mia stood and brushed her hands on her leggings like she had completed a serious task. "No tripping," she instructed. "No tripping," Claire agreed. Noah shook his head, a small smile tugging at one corner of his mouth. "She has opinions. She has leadership," Claire said. Mia looked pleased with that. Claire glanced at the clock on the wall, then at the stacks of reports on her desk that had waited patiently. She felt for once that the waiting could continue. "I was about to get lunch," Claire said. "Would you both like to come with me?" Mia's eyes widened. "Do you have grilled cheese places in this building?" "Not in the building," Claire said. "But I know a place nearby that takes grilled cheese seriously." Mia looked at Noah with urgent hope. Noah hesitated only a second. "We can," he said. "We have time." Claire reached for her coat. Noah helped Mia with her backpack. Mia tucked her notebook under her arm like it belonged there. They walked out together and rode the elevator down in an easy quiet. In the lobby, the model planes hung in their bright frozen flight. Mia stared up at them again, then took Claire's hand without asking. Outside, the sun hit their faces clean and warm. The sky above Dallas was a deep open blue, with only a few thin clouds stretched like soft brush marks. Claire walked between Noah and Mia, feeling the steady press of Mia's hand in hers, and for the first time in years, the space inside her chest did not feel like an empty terminal. It felt like a door left open on purpose. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.